Okay, good morning everyone. The Honorable Speaker, Dr. Willy Renandya, Honorable Mr. Derajat Trikartono MSI, as a Head of Research and Development Ittishal, and all participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Welcome and thank you for joining Ittishal webinar Literacy Teaching Strategy Facing 4.0 Era, they organized by Ittishal, supported by Tiga Serangkai and IT from Al Firdaus. This webinar is pre-event of the Third International Conference on Islamic Education to 2021. They organized by Ittishal in collaboration with International Islamic College University Selangor, Malaysia. And this conference will be held on 18 March 2021. Okay, first of all, let me introduce myself to be a moderator in this event. Okay, there is some information for you. Please re-register yourself by filling the Google form. Join the conference on March 2021. So don't miss this special offering from Ittishal. Okay. Gentle reminder to all participants, please re-register yourself by filling the Google form. The link will be in the chat box and participate in our survey. Also, the link will be in the chat box. And for 5 lucky participants, you will get the free tickets to join our conference in March 2021. And we will move to the next agenda is a welcoming speech from Mr. Derajat Trikartono, MSI, as a Head of Research and Development Ittishal. For Mr. Derajat, The time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Is it my voice is clear?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Ibu Yanti.
You're
It
welcome.
is it is my privilege to be with you in the beautiful morning to the important webinar under title Literacy Teaching Strategies Facing 4.0 Era, Learning from Singapore School Best Practice. Actually, we can also learning from Alfredos International School, as Ibu Yanti moderator also the very activist in the schools.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank all of you for being present in these webinars, and also my special thanks to our outstanding speakers, Mr. Dr. Willy Renandya from National Institute of Education. Good morning, Mr. Willy. It's very nice to see you here.
Morning, Pak.
Okay,
Good morning
thank
to
you
you.
very much for coming. And also all of you, it is actually, we're talking about literacy teaching strategy. It is a strong foundation in literacy. It's a vital for every child and young person to engage in education, reach their potential, and to participate in the community. This is why strong literacy outcome for young people become key part of education process, especially in the digital era nowadays. Teachers have the key role to educate the literacy, creating 4.0 generation. The skill of literacy must be implemented in the process of learning. Of course, family education and formal education must be hand to hand uh, to support this important of literacy capacity. It is implemented in the early basic ability. Therefore, Ittishal is the International Islamic School Alliance, uh, designed to discuss through webinar titled Literacy Teaching Strategies Facing 4.0 Era, Learning from Singapore School Best Practice, that all of us now present to join this important webinar. All of us know that Singapore student performance in reading rank number 2 of the highest among PISA participating countries. PISA is the program for international student assessment. It's covering the literacy of reading, literacy, mathematics, and the science, and it's very appropriate to study in for the Singapore experience, because Singapore experience so that they have already performance, best performance, the number 2 in the world. So we will discuss the urgency how the learning literacy is very important to be implemented both in school and home. We gather here with the expert, parent, education, activists, government, and other related stakeholders to discuss this issue. I would like to thank to all of the college who present here, especially to Dr. Willy Renandya, who uh, who share with us the knowledge and experience from the National Institute of Education, part of Nanyang Technology University. This forum is a part of our routine program in the International Conference on Islamic Educations. Inshallah, we will have the third conference will be organized in 18 March 2021 by online conference. We are welcome all of you come to participate in our conference. You can open our website, it is our website, or contact with our friend here, Mbak Emma and Mbak Anna. last but not least, we would like to thank all participants in the webinar. We hope that you enjoy the webinar and you get fruitful knowledge and experience from the Singapore and from International School of Al Firdaus. May Allah bless all of us, and from the chairs of the Ittishal, I say thank you very much and have a very fruitful webinar. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Please re-register yourself by filling the Google form. The link will be in the chat box, and you will get the e-certificate based on the data on that Google form. And also please participate in our survey. The link will resonate with the International Islamic College Selangor, Malaysia on March 18. And now we will see our participants. Some come from Malaysia and Singapore, as well as India. Okay, so Malaysia, Singapore, India, and some from all over Indonesia, and some parents or who concerned about the education actually. Okay, so this is very letter, and today Mr. Willy Renandya will share his knowledge and his expertise to all of us. Sorry. He teach, his education background is come from IKIP Sanata Dharma, Yogyakarta, Indonesia, and sorry, a little bit problem with the sound. Is it okay?
Maybe somebody from the panitia can help because the audio is not good.
Yes, I did keep. Yeah.
Sorry, we are trying to fix the problem first. Sorry for the inconvenience. Udah.
Check. Check, check, check. Check. Check, check. One. Check, check, check.
Let me also check my voice, if my voice is clear or not clear. Ibu Yosefa, is my voice clear?
Yes, your voice is very clear, Pak Willy.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Check, check. Can anybody hear me? Hello? Okay.
Do you know sign language? Like that? If you know how to sign, then you don't have to speak.
Hello, Pak Willy. Can you hear my
Hey, hello.
voice? Okay, it's me,
Yes,
Anna.
very loud and clear. Yes.
Yeah, it's me, Anna.
Yes,
Sorry
Bu
for
Anna,
the
finally.
internet
Yes.
problem. So let us start the session.
Oh, do you want me to start now?
Yes, let's start the.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Yes, okay, good. Yes, I can also introduce myself. So, okay, let me just share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen? Yes? Please nod your
Yes.
head if you can see my screen. Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my big pleasure to be here with you this morning. And today is very special. The topic is very special, and the audience is also very special. And in today, there is somebody with us, and her name is Ibu Yosefa Iswandari. She is a teacher. She is a lecturer at the University of Sanata Dharma, and she is also a former president of the Indonesian Extensive Reading Association. And she will be joining us in a conversation about literacy and why literacy is important, and how we can go about, helping our kids develop their literacy during your studies in school. My voice sounds double actually. Josefa, can you hear me very clear? No? I'm also having problem with my voice now. Josefa, can you say something on the...
Your voice is not really clear, Pak Willy.
Okay, I don't know what is happening. Okay, is it better now?
What if you try to stop sharing screen first?
Okay, maybe I should do that, yeah? Okay, one more time. Is it good now? Is it clear now?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, let me try again. Good, okay. I hope you can see this beautiful photo on the screen, and she is going to be with us for the duration of the session today, Ibu Yusefa Iswandari. Ibu Yusefa, do you want to say 1 or 2 sentences about yourself? Ibu Yusefa? Oh, she's gone. Okay. Okay, our topic today is literacy. Yeah. Let me begin by asking you a few questions about literacy. Literacy usually has to do with reading. Literacy has to do with writing as well. But let me just focus on reading first, yeah? Okay. Please use the chat box and answer my questions. Reading makes you a better person. Write on the chat box whether the answer is yes or no. Quick, quick, quick. Your time is only 3 seconds. Yes? Okay, number 2. Number 2, reading is a great source of happiness. Yes or no? Reading is a great source of happiness. Yes or no? Yes? Very good. So if you are not happy at the moment, that means you have not done enough reading. Okay? Next. Very important question for us to reflect on. Reading is a source of knowledge and wisdom. Is that a yes or a no? Ibu Tiwu, yes or no, Ibu Tiwu? Ibu Tiwu? Can somebody say something? I just want to make sure that you can hear me. Mbak Ana? Ibu
Yes,
Ana?
yes, we are hearing you.
Okay. Okay, very good. Yes, okay, that makes me happy because for a moment I thought I was talking to myself. Okay, so reading is a source of knowledge and wisdom. Yeah? Yes or no? Yes, right? Yes. And finally, what is important is this. So today, actually, I will be spending time with you looking at number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. In particular, number 4, reading. I'm going to read this slowly. Reading is a great source of language development. If you want to be good in reading, you have to read. If you want to be good in writing, you have to read. If you want to be good at speaking, at giving presentation, you have to read as well. So reading is very, very good for you. If you are a language teacher, reading is good for you. If you are teaching students how to speak Bahasa or how to speak English, reading is a great source of language proficiency, of language development. This is one question for you. Can you please turn on the microphone and say it together? I read every day. Yes or no? Can I hear your voice, please?
Yes.
Yes? Yes? What do you read? Yes, what do you read every day? Social media. Okay. Do you read books as well?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Okay, I know that many of the people in the audience and also people out there, they don't read every day. They read only occasionally, and when they do read, most of the time they read, information from the social media, from Facebook and from other sources. Now, here is another thing. that is extremely important. Literacy actually begins at home. Literacy begins when your parents, your mother in particular, and your father read to you every single night before you go to bed. And that is the starting point of literacy development. It starts from home and it continues throughout life. It continues in school and it continues throughout life as well. Yeah, so keep this in mind. I'm going to return to this point later, and I will also invite Ibu Yosefa later on to help explain how she has been helping her students and also her daughter develop their literacy at home and also in school. Now, here is something that I would like to share with you. Now, the person here is Professor Richard Day from the University of Hawaii. Now, he is one of the most famous literacy scholars in the world. And he has written a book called Extensive Reading in a Second Language. Now, this is what he says about the benefits of reading. Yeah, if you read books regularly, if you read every day, your word knowledge becomes richer. Yeah, let me read this again for you. If you read books every day, if you read a story every day, if you read to your children every day, their word knowledge becomes richer. In other words, they know a lot of words, and words are extremely important when you want to read with greater understanding. And point number 2 is also very interesting. If you read regularly, you will become better readers, you will become better listeners, you'll become better writers, and you'll become better speakers as well. So that these are the benefits of reading. Yeah, in particular, your language becomes stronger, your word knowledge also becomes, your language skills overall also become better. But the other benefit, which is very, very important, equally important, is this. Reading expands your world knowledge, your knowledge about things, your knowledge about other cultures, your knowledge about how or what people do in other places in the world, your knowledge about different places, different political system, different educational system. This knowledge also increases. And later, I will explain why this knowledge is very, very important. So the world was for hers for the reading. In other words, if you read, then your world knowledge develops. Here is another one. I do believe something very magical happens when you read a good book. And here's another one. Very, very important for all the parents and also for all the language teachers in the audience. The more that you read, that's the last one, the more things you will know. And then the more that you learn, the more places you will go. I think all these quotes mean that with knowledge, your reading ability will also develop. Your literacy skills also develop. But your knowledge base in general also develop a great deal. Pak Derajat early on mentioned about PISA. And PISA is an international assessment for international students, basically. And Singapore has been doing very, very well in terms of reading, in terms of mathematics, and in terms of science as well. And more recently, PISA has included another component. And that component is called global competency. Now, this one is very, very interesting. So literacy alone or reading alone is now considered not enough. If you want to educate your children, your citizens, then another thing for us to do, for you to do, will be to increase the students' world knowledge. so that they become more globally informed. Yeah. And these are 3 things that are included in the most recent PISA tests. Kita baca pelan-pelan ini. Ada 3 hal yang masuk. Ini semuanya berkaitan dengan knowledge. Knowledge about your country, knowledge about your immediate community, but also knowledge about the world, knowledge about the world culture. Yeah. So point number 1 is understanding issues of local, global, and cultural significance. Number 2, understanding and appreciating different perspectives and worldview. That is another very important skill that we need to teach our students. Yeah, other cultures may be different from our culture. And our job is not to say that our culture is the best in the world. No, that's not the case. Yeah, our job is to tell the students that, hey, other people have different ways of thinking, have different ways of doing things, have different cultures. They're different, but it doesn't mean that they're worse than our culture. Yeah, so your job is to help our students to respect and to appreciate other perspectives, other opinions, and other worldview. And point number 3 is taking concrete or constructive action for the well-being of people in the world. So these are 3 areas that have recently been included in the PISA assessment. Basically checking students' ability to whether they have sufficient world knowledge in order to function in the world today. So when we talk about the 4.0 era, this is basically one of the most important things that we need to teach our students. Awareness of the local culture, awareness of the other cultures, and awareness of the world culture as well. Okay? Okay. So today, what I want to share with you are 2 points, 2 very important points. The first point has to do with 4 reading competencies. What are 4 reading competencies that we need to help our students develop in school and also at home? And these are 4 competencies that are included in Singapore schools as well. Yeah, I'm going to share with you all these 4 competencies. And then I will also be looking at the implications for teaching. I hope you're ready now for me to start talking about the 4 competencies. Now, these are the 4 competencies. The first one is known as a code breaker. Code breaker means abilities to understand what students see on the screen, on a page. In other words, the alphabet, the spelling, the grammar, the sounds of the language. It's called code breaker. Number 2 is meaning maker. The ability to make sense of the words and make sense of the world. Itu yang nomor 2 nih. Yang nomor 3, the third one is text user. The ability to make use of what students have seen from the text and then later use the information, also the language features for their own, oral presentation and also for their own writing. Yang terakhir, yang keempat adalah text critic. Somebody who is critical. We want to help our students to become more critical readers. So being able to understand the text is not enough. We need to go one step beyond that and help our students to be able to judge, to appreciate, to evaluate the text from different or multiple perspectives. Yeah, let's begin with the first one. The first one is fairly straightforward. Yeah, the technical term is code breaker. The word code here refers to language. In other words, familiarity with the sounds, with the spelling and the grammar of the language. It may sound like very simple, but for some other kids from other places in the world, this first skill or the first competency can be very challenging. Let me just give you an example. Yeah. You see here the spoken word of the name Endang is written like this. Yeah, what do you see there? It's almost the same, isn't it? Endang and endang sama. The spelling is like that. The pronunciation is like that. So there is a 1-to-1 correspondence between what a word or how the word is spelled and how the word is spoken. Bahasa Indonesia, Bahasa Malaysia is like this. Very, very phonetic. So learning how to read in Bahasa Indonesia or Bahasa Melayu should be very easy. Let's compare this with other kids from other countries. Now, if you speak Chinese, this is what the word male, a man, is pronounced. Something like nan, like that. But this is what it looks like in print. I hope you can see that these two things are very, very different. The left-hand side is how the word is spoken. The right-hand side is how the word is written. So imagine how difficult it is for Chinese students or Chinese children learning how to read. If you are from Indonesia, I think you are much more fortunate because reading, recognizing the words on the screen is very straightforward. It's very easy. Next, look at English, Bahasa Inggris. This is what it looks like, enough, yeah? When you say the word, this is how the word sounds, enough. But the written word is like that. So imagine how difficult it is for people, for young children in the UK, maybe to some extent in Singapore and in the US, when they try to learn to read. Very difficult. And because of that, a lot of kids are struggling with reading, especially at the early stage of learning. In primary schools in particular, a number of students are struggling, trying to learn how to read. In Indonesia, or in Bahasa Indonesia, or in Bahasa Melayu, the kids are able to read very quickly. So that is a big plus. In theory, because the language is easier, then the kids should be able to do well on the big PISA test, for example. But that is not the case. And we'll look at the other competencies that are needed in order for us to help our students become better readers and students who have higher literacy skills. Yeah, but let's stay with this code breaker first so that we can understand what it means. Now, here is another example of why English, Bahasa Inggris, is difficult even for young children. Speaking, maybe not very difficult, but reading and writing, very tough for the kids. Look at this. Ibu Yosefa, are you there? Ibu Yosefa, are you there with me? Or are you gone now? Ibu Anna, are you there?
Yes, Pak. Up here.
Okay,
Very clear.
Who is that? Yosefa? Anna Yosefa.
It's me, Anna.
Anna, can you read this for me? Okay, here is a test for you.
English is hard. So I cut
Yes.
throughout. I can see the screen.
You can't see the screen? Okay, not a problem. Let me read this to you. Yeah. Okay. Though I coughed throughout the lecture, I still thought I could plow through the rest of it. Look at how the words are spelled and listen to the way the words are pronounced. Though, cough, through, thought, plow, through. Yeah. So the spelling and the how the words are spelled and how the words are pronounced can be very different. And because of that, it can be very, very challenging for kids. Yeah. Again, my point here is that for Indonesian kids, it should be easier to read Bahasa Indonesia text. And yet our students are not doing well in literacy, in reading test. Bahasa Jawa is also very difficult. Yeah, because the spelling system and the way the writing symbol is pronounced is also very, very different. This is Hono Choroko, basically, yeah, Toto Sawolo, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Okay, so that is the first part about code breaker. The second part, which is very important for us to realize also, is if you want to read well, it's not enough for you to be able to read a word. That's not enough. I think you also need to be able to read words in groups. 2 or 3 words together. 2 or 3 words together. If you read one by one, if you read the text one word at a time, one by one or word by word, then you will not be able to read very well. Yeah, so reading word by word is not very good. It has to be reading in sense groups, in chunks like that. So when you teach your young children, you should notice this as well. They may recognize the words, they may understand the meaning of the words individually, but they may not be able to read fluently enough so that they can do what has been called idea reading, group by group, sense groups by sense groups. And in order for your kids and for you to be able to do this well, you need some knowledge of the grammar of the language. Again, this seems very obvious, but let me give you an example here. Bahasa Indonesia, I like gudeg. Yeah. I think we know the grammar. I like gudeg. It is not like gudeg like I. Different meaning, yeah? But in Bahasa Korea, for example, the grammar is different. The grammar is like this. Nanen, gudeg. I don't know how to say it, but look at this. The gudeg is in the middle, not at the end of the sentence. Now, how do you know this? Well, Korean kids learn how to chunk, how to group the words differently from the way we do in Bahasa Indonesia or in Bahasa Malaysia, for example. In Chinese, the grammar is quite similar to Bahasa Indonesia. So in terms of grammar, I think the Chinese students will not have difficulty learning Bahasa Indonesia, for example. Yeah. So the word gudeg appears at the end there. The first character is I. The second one is like. And the third character also comes together. It's I like gudeg, like that. So the point here is that I want to emphasize is that chunking or reading in groups become very important if you want to develop fluency in reading. Now here is another example. If you read this text word by word over the next 10 to 15 years, the lakeside area, if you read it like that, chances are you won't understand very well. You need to be able to do this, to break it up into sense groups like this. Now, this will help our students to develop fluency in the language. Yeah. So I hope I am clear about this. This usually is not very challenging. This part is very straightforward. By the time our students are in primary 1, kelas 1 SD atau kelas 2 atau kelas 3 SD, mestinya sudah beres. I hope that is usually the case. Because if not, if the readers read slowly and painfully, word by word, and they pause to sound out words, chances are they will not be able to comprehend very well what they are reading. So the very first competency in reading is being able to read quickly, being able to read fluently in sense groups, in chunks. Okay? So that's the first one. That's the first competency. Usually in primary school, this skill will have been acquired when the kids are in kelas 4 mungkin atau kelas 5 begitu ya. I think they will have been able to do this very, very well. The second one is more challenging. The second one is about how you can make sense of the text. Yes, you may be reading fluently and accurately, but comprehension, understanding the text requires something else. And that is what I want to discuss with you now. In other words, the second competence requires that we read like a reader. What does it mean when we say that reading like a reader? Here, a reader constructs meaning. Now that is a very interesting word for us to remember. A reader builds meaning. Meaning is not there in the text for you to get just like that. No, you have to work together. You need to contribute to the development of understanding by making use of what you know in order to make sense of what is in the text. So that is an important thing for us to remember. Reading is a constructive process. Reading is an active process. Without this process, your comprehension is likely to be very superficial. And to do this, you need a lot of word knowledge. You also need a lot of world knowledge as well. Contoh misalnya seperti ini. Here is just an example of meaning construction. Let's say that you are reading something. On the left-hand side there is a reading passage that you have to read and understand. The title is "This is my house." Yeah, looks like a very easy thing to do. A house. What is the big deal about understanding what a house looks like? But in order to understand what the house looks like, the text doesn't tell you everything. The text doesn't tell you this is the house and this is something that I want to give to you. The reader will have to work a little bit. The reader will have to think and to make use of their prior experiences and prior knowledge in order to construct that meaning. Kurang lebih seperti ini. Yeah. So reading is a mental process. Reading is a cognitive process. Reading is a constructive process. You need to work a little bit hard in order to be able to build, an accurate comprehension of what the house looks like. If you are successful, then you'll be able to have this picture in your head. Oh, the text is about a house like this. Some of the students may not be able to do this. The house may look very different. Or for the struggling readers, the house may look something like this. It's not even a complete looking house. Again, the point here is that reading is a constructive process. Meaning is not just in the text, but meaning is also in your head. And you have to make use of what you know in order to make sense of the information presented in the text. I hope that is clear, yeah? Now here is an example. Here is an example why reading is a constructive process, because meaning, yang namanya arti, pemahaman itu tidak hanya terdapat pada kata-kata yang tertulis di sana. Mbak Admin, are you still there, Mbak Admin?
Okay.
No, she's not there.
Willy,
oh yeah, you're there.
More.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 5 minutes more. No, I'm not done.
Okay.
No, not 5 minutes. I need about 20 minutes more. Yes, if you see here, katakan tidak pada korupsi. What does it mean? If somebody says this, katakan tidak pada korupsi, do you believe, is that what the person actually means, or is it something else? Katakan tidak padahal korupsi. So comprehension is very interesting because depending on who the person is saying it, who the person is writing it, I think we have to go beyond what is in the text, and we need to be able to interpret what the text means using our experiences, using our prior knowledge, using our other pieces of information which may or may not be in the text. Yeah, I think about 10 or 15 years ago, this phrase is very, very popular, usually spoken by politicians. They say things like this, but in reality, that is not what actually happened. Okay, the other thing that is very important is world knowledge. You need to have a lot of world knowledge in order for you to be able to make sense of a text. Yeah, I think that should be very clear. Prior experience, content knowledge, cultural knowledge becomes very important if you want to make sense of the text. Let me give you an example here. We need to meet soon to discuss the new project. Sure, how about Friday? Hari Jumat, okay. And the other person says, Friday, you've got to be kidding. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I forgot. How about Saturday? Great, see you then. Why do you think the second person B here says, oh, okay, I'm sorry? If you don't know the culture, if you don't know the context, if you don't know the setting in which the conversation takes place, then you won't understand why the person B is saying, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I forgot. Because the conversation actually took place in Brunei Darussalam. And in Brunei Darussalam, people don't work on Fridays. Friday is a holiday. But people work on Saturdays and also on Sunday. Yep. So without that prior knowledge, without that cultural knowledge, understanding this text can be a little bit challenging. Now here is another one. You may have seen this last year in particular. There's a lot of people protesting on the street. Hundreds of thousands of people protesting on the street. And if you read the article, for example, and try to understand why people demonstrated on the street, you will have a hard time understanding. I did not understand why people in Hong Kong were demonstrating back then, simply because I do not have sufficient knowledge about the people in Hong Kong and the relationship of the people in Hong Kong and the mainland China. Yeah. So in order for you to understand something like this, you need two pieces of knowledge. Word knowledge, bahasa. Yang kedua adalah world knowledge. If one is missing, your comprehension may be compromised. Your comprehension may not be accurate. In other words, you need to know a lot of words and you need to know a lot of world knowledge as well. Okay, let me just skip this. Okay, so the first two, number one is code breaker. Remember, code breaker, knowing about how the language works, the spelling, the pronunciation, the meaning of the word. And number two is meaning maker. Comprehension is not easy. Comprehension requires a lot of interpretation. Comprehension requires a lot of word knowledge and also world knowledge. Yeah. So at this stage, you should be okay, or the kids should be okay. But is that enough? The answer is no, it's not enough. I think you need to go one step further and teach your kids the next competency. And the next one is called text user. What does text user mean? This is where you need to encourage, to teach your students to read like a writer. Now think about this very carefully, to read like a writer. And for you to do that, you need to read a little bit slowly. You need to also pay attention to the language that you are reading. So that later, nantinya, setelah selesai membaca, mungkin besok, mungkin minggu depan, when you want to write about something on that topic, then you will remember some of the words that you have seen, some of the vocabulary, some of the grammatical features, and things like that. So read like a writer. Remember, literacy is about reading. Literacy is also about writing. And for this to happen, you need to pay attention to these important features of the text that you are reading. You need to understand the purpose. You need to understand the audience. You need to understand the context, and you need to understand the language features as well. Text user. Teman-teman guru yang mengajar pakai genre-based approach, this is what genre-based approach is all about, basically. Helping the kids to notice, to pay attention to the purpose, to the function, to the audience, to the context, and the language features of the text. Alasannya adalah, if you pay attention, chances are you will remember. You remember some of the words, you remember some of the text organization and text features, and later when you speak or when you write, you will be able to make use of some of this in your writing. Yeah, purpose, context, and audience. For example, a narrative text. After you have finished reading a narrative text, don't stop there, because your job next time is for you to be able to produce a narrative text. And in order for you to do that, then you need to pay attention to the purpose again, the audience, the context, and the language features. This is where you need to read a little bit slowly. Yeah. Remember the first two competencies, they have to do with your ability to read quickly, to read fluently. But at this stage, you want to read a little bit slowly. Otherwise, you will miss the text features. You will just be focusing on the meaning and not the language. So in order to build full competencies in literacy, you need both. You need to be able to read quickly. You need to be able to understand very well, but you should also be reading a little bit slowly so that you understand better, so that you know the language features, so that later you can use these features in your writing. I hope I'm making sense here. Yeah. So this is the text user. Yuk diulang yuk. Yang pertama adalah code breaker. Yang kedua adalah meaning maker. Very important competencies. The third one adalah text user. Because later on you'll be using what you have seen for your own writing and for your own speaking or presentations. The last one is text critic. Tidak lengkap kalau kita tidak membahas kompetensi yang terakhir. Text critic, becoming a critical reader, being able to think critically, being able to understand what is in the text that is stated clearly by the author, but also understanding what is not in the text, what is hidden in the text. This is an extremely important skill in today's world, to ask questions, to verify the information that is available in the text. Yeah. So let's talk about this very briefly. So your job as a teacher is to teach your students to become critical and not cynical. Ada bedanya antara critical dan cynical? Ibu admin Al-Firdaus, apa bedanya critical dan cynical? Gampang bahasa Indonesianya. Critical itu kritis. Kalau cynical itu sinis gitu loh. Ya, kalau sinis itu bukan critical. Sinis itu memang something negative that you want to say about other people or about the text. Yeah, critical is not the same as cynical. Critical means you are able to look at things in perspectives. What are the pluses? What are the minuses? Whether the information is accurate or not accurate. But being cynical is, well, because that is the person who wrote the article, then I'm already not very happy with that person. So I'm going to say bad things about whatever the person is writing. That is cynical. In other words, being able to reserve judgment. In other words, not to judge too quickly. Another important skill or trait is to be able to respect other people, to respect other perspectives. You may disagree. You may disagree with what the person is saying in the text, but you still respect that person's opinions. Appreciating differences, checking and rechecking information presented in the text. Now, these are extremely important attributes, important characteristics of a very, very good reader. In order to be able to read what is in the text and also to understand what is not stated clearly in the text, but implied by the author. Yeah. Now here is a very simple thing for you to help your students to think when they read, to not just swallow or believe what is in the text. Tell your students to check if, is the information true or not true? Is the information helpful or not helpful? Is the information inspiring? Is the information necessary? Is the information kind? Very important in the social media world because of the tendency for young children in particular, and also us, adults, to very quickly share information to other people without thinking very much. And that is really, really not very good. So teach your kids to assess the information, whether it's good, whether it's useful, whether it's necessary, whether it is something that will be appreciated by other people before you click the share button. So reading is not just about comprehension. Reading is also about appreciating, understanding, and also about sharing the information to other people in a very critical way. Okay, we now come to the, okay, so what is the big deal? So how do we go about teaching the 4 competencies? Ini bagian yang terakhir ya. What should we do as a teacher? What can we do to help our students develop competencies in these 4 areas? Remember, code breaker, meaning maker, text user, and also text critic. Ada 4 hal nih ya. Nih. Yang pertama, ada 2 posisi, ada 2 perspektif, ada 2 opinions about this. Are these skills taught? Do we need to teach them? Or is it something that the students will have to develop on their own, whether it is taught or caught? 2 hal ya. Taught or caught. Yang kedua, yang pertama, the first 2, code breaker and meaning maker, I think it's mostly sebagian besar, it's something that is caught. It's very straightforward. What do I mean by caught? Remember what I said early on, reading is good. If the students read regularly, daily, every day, for a period of time, they will have developed the 2 skills with some help from you. But by and large, the competencies are caught. You don't need to teach the students very, very explicitly every day, every single week. You can teach them a little, but mostly these 2 skills develop over time when the students have had a lot of experience reading a lot of books every day, every week, every year, and so on and so forth. So it's mostly caught. The other 2 skills or competencies, text user and text critic, I think they should be taught. How does the ajarkan? Because the last 2 skills are not very easy. The last 2 skills require a very professional teacher who can help the students to acquire these 2 competencies. So in other words, this is what it looks like. Yeah, the first 2 competencies can be acquired, can be learned if we provide students with a lot of reading experience. And how do you do that? You can do this by implementing what has been called extensive reading in your school. Now, this can start at home, for example. If you are a parent, you can provide students, you can provide your children with a lot of books for them to read on their own, with some help from you. Ibu Yusefa, are you there? Ibu Yusefa?
Willy.
Yes. Now,
yes.
Ibu Yusefa is a former president of an extensive reading association in Indonesia. And she will share with us very briefly why extensive reading and why she has been teaching extensive reading and why she has been giving workshops on extensive reading and why she has also helped her daughter to develop fluency in reading, in meaning making, and in also understanding the relationship between words and their spelling. Bu Yusefa?
Yes, Pak Willy, thank you so much. Hello, Bapak Ibu. Is it clear, my voice?
Yes, very clear. Yes.
Okay, all right,
yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, as Pak Willy has already mentioned before, extensive reading is very important, and I learned actually a lot about extensive reading from Pak Willy Renandya before. So yes, I guess the main point is that extensive reading can help us improve our words and our works. Really, is my voice clear? Because I heard like,
Yeah.
okay, I heard that like double voice here, quite strange. Okay, yeah, echoing. Okay. All right.
Yeah, very clear.
Yes. So then.
So what did you do at home when your daughter was very small? I can hear you.
Yes, Pak Willy?
Yeah, continue.
Okay.
What did you do
with
to
my
your daughter when she?
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Is she a good reader?
All right. With my daughter, so yes, she is a good reader, and we actually expose her to home literacy since very early of her age. So what we did first is like creating a reading corner and also book access at home. Because we believe that if we want to start our literacy, of course, we have to have books. Is it lagging?
Buying books for your daughter.
I would say like in the beginning, I invested.
Yeah. Oh, that's an investment. Okay. Yes. Her doctorate in education, in language education. Okay, let me just continue. Yeah, so the first two competencies can be acquired primarily terutama melalui bacaan. Bukan hanya sekali ya, bacaan yang berulang-ulang, bacaan yang setiap hari baca, extensive reading in schools. 2 hari yang lalu saya memberikan sebuah workshop untuk sebuah sekolah SD di Singapura, di mana seluruh guru itu harus ikut, diwajibkan ikut workshop itu. Nah, ini guru bahasa, guru matematik. Why? Because the school believe that reading is good and they want to build a reading culture in their school. So why? This is primarily because they want to help their kids, the children, understanding the library is there, and the picture on the bottom right corner, that is a reading corner. A reading corner outside the classroom, outside the school library. Itu lokasinya di depan kantin sekolahan. So during recess, istirahat, anak-anak itu student reading a book in the school library. And these are books that they can look at, they can browse, and they can read as well. So books are everywhere in Singapore. And that is something that we need to do also in. Yang kedua adalah text user and text critic. Yang ini perlu intervensi, perlu campur tangan dari guru secara lebih sistematis. And because of that, we need a professional teacher. Highlight this and teach the kids about, the purpose of the text, the audience, the intended audience, and the language features as well. Yeah. And the teachers will also need to be able to explain, or is it fake news or good news and things like that. So we need teachers here, teachers who are truly, truly professional, teachers who are themselves critical readers. Yeah. And the
Pak
approach,
Willy,
biasanya, yeah, I'm done. Yes, 2 menit.
Okay.
Yes, selesai.
Okay, we have a Q&A session then.
Yes. Just give me 1 minute ya. So the approach, cara mengajarnya itu secara garis besar itu seperti ini. Yang pertama adalah the teachers modeling, the teachers providing an explanation and providing a model of how to become a critical reader, ya. Terus yang kedua adalah, and then the students do together in groups so that they can support each other. So I do, we do, you do together, and finally kalau sudah selesai baru now you do it alone. Dari prosesnya seperti ini, tidak asal-asal, here's the text, be critical. You can't. Here's the text, pay attention to the text features. The students will not be able to do that. So the students need you, the students need a very good professional teacher to help the students to do things using an approach like this. Ini istilah kerennya adalah gradual release of responsibility. Istilah keren lainnya adalah scaffolding, modeling and scaffolding. Last slide. In summary, I hope you remember the 4 competencies that teachers or schools in Singapore are working very hard to help the students to develop: code breaker, meaning maker, text user, and text critic. In order to develop these competencies, the students need a lot of word knowledge. The students also need a lot of world knowledge, and they also need a lot of intercultural knowledge, skills, and also positive attitudes about life, about learning, about reading, and about schooling. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of my presentation, and here is a present for you, a gift. If you want free books, please visit my website. All these free books and many others are free for you. Free for you. Completely free. Yes, Ibu Admin, back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Pak Willy, for sharing valuable knowledge and best practice how to teach literacy. So we have to scaffolding actually, about the literacy skill. Okay,
Modeling first.
Modeling first and then
yes.
Scaffolding.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, so here's some question actually that collect by our committee, and will be display. Then we have discuss first regarding our survey. So the participant fill the like a small survey regarding the literacy, what they know about the literacy. So we can discuss first about this maybe.
Okay.
Admin, can you display the result of the survey? Okay. So when they register, they just talk about their prior knowledge regarding the literacy. So we will see the result.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, wait. Okay, this is the result.
Mm.
So what is on their mind about the literacy? Most of them say that literacy is about the skills. Yeah, this is refers to the skills, right? Reading comprehension, and then listening and speaking. And also literacy is refers to the activities, Pak. The activities, like reading, listening, and speaking as well. And some of them say that literacy is resources. So the book, maybe the manuscript, the journal is literation, And the others answer that literacy is like a symbol of nation, showing civilization level and library. So maybe they related the literation with library. So what do you think, Pak, about this prior knowledge of our participants?
It's a very good start. Yes, literacy is mostly about reading and writing. If you want to include listening and speaking, that's fine too. But some people prefer to use the word oracy. Orasi.
Orasi.
Yes, oracy refers to speaking and listening. Literacy, in a rather limited sense of the word, itu biasanya berkaitan erat dengan reading and writing. Ini penting sekali, terutama pada tahap-tahap awal. In primary school, that is where you need to build a very, very strong literacy skills. In 1970s, the government also talked about literacy, but in a different way. Pemberantasan buta huruf. That is a very, very first foundational literacy skill. I think the government back then was very successful. In other words, almost everyone in Indonesia back then was able to recognize. Ya, kata kuncinya adalah recognize. Belum pada level-level pemahaman yang lain, hanya bisa mengenal huruf gitu loh. Itu basic literacy. That kind of literacy is important, but way not enough. I think we need to increase our understanding about literacy today. Literacy is reading and writing. Literacy is about thinking. Literacy is about connecting with other people, with other cultures as well. Some of you mentioned about, literacy has to do with the feeling of nationalism. Good, that's good. That's a very, a very foundational feeling that you need to develop through literacy. But in today's world, di masa 4.0, for example, that is not enough because the world is so connected now, so interconnected. You also need to develop cultural literacy or intercultural literacy. Kalau tidak, kita hanya menjadi seperti katak dalam tempurung. That's what we know. I only know about my surrounding, my family, my community, and that's it. I only know about my province, Central Java, or Kalimantan, atau Irian Jaya. Just that. That's not enough. I think we need to go beyond that because we are so interconnected. And that's why one of the skills di Singapura juga ini, yang diajarkan sekarang untuk anak-anak yang lebih gede, anak SMA, adalah intercultural competence namanya. Intercultural competence. And how do you develop intercultural competence? Number one, mostly through reading. Jadi reading for life becomes so important. If you don't read, I think you will stop learning. And your worldviews will become very, very, very limited. Academic reading, is that part of literacy? Yes, if you're doing your graduate studies, for example, if you're studying at the university, that is part of your reading literacy as well. In your case, it's a specific type of literacy related to developing your understanding of academic topics or academic books. Ibu Yusefa at the moment is doing a lot of academic literacy activities. She reads and reads every day. A lot of it is, journal articles or academic books related to her area of specialization.
Okay, thank you, Pak Willy. So we have to enhance our understanding about literacy. So maybe literacy is just not like an activity to reading a book or writing a journal, but it's more like a comprehensive skills. Yeah, we can do literacy to develop our research skill, and then literacy for develop our communication skills. Because when we have a good communication skill, we can have a good understanding of others. Like you say, we have to understand intercultural and the different perspective of others. Okay, thank you so much, Pak Willy. And now we will go ahead to the Q&A from the participants. Our committee already chose the 3 questions. Maybe admin can show in the slide, Pak Emma. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay. Okay, the first question is from Rita Zahara, Pak Witas Malikus Saleh Aceh.
Okay.
How does a teacher increase or awaken a student spirit in literacy activity at the school? Okay,
very
and
good
then
question,
the second one, and the second one is from Pak Bambang Purwoko, University of WR Supratman. How different way of teaching for urban and rural communities to be literate? This is, I think, the best question. Please, Pak Willy.
Yes, Ibu Yosefa is nodding her head. I think she will be answering the first question. Yes. Ibu Yosefa, do you want to respond to that question?
Sure, Pak Willy. How does a teacher increase a student's spirit literacy? It should start from the teacher, I guess.
I like that. Yes. Yeah.
So I believe that when the students see how reading or literacy is important to the teachers, they will follow.
Yes.
In other words,
in other words, it's teacher modeling. Bapak Ibu, if you want your children at home to read, you should show them that you are also somebody who enjoys reading and that you read regularly. Let your students or let your children see that you are reading. And if the students are able to see that you are somebody who enjoys reading, who have a lot of fun reading a book, I think your kids will gradually develop that interest, the motivation, and the spirit to read also. It's very simple. Modeling. Di falsafah di Jawa itu ada falsafah yang namanya apa ya, Yosefa? Engarso itu loh. Engarso
sung tulodo.
Ya, itu bahasa Jawa. Bahasa Indonesianya apa ya? Engarso sung tulodo.
Di depan memberi contoh.
Exactly, yes. That's how you do, yes. Don't say, don't tell, don't give your students or your children lecture. Jangan diberi kuliah, nggak ada gunanya. So don't tell them, hey, reading is good for you. You have to read every day. You know, if you read, you will become a smart person. You're wasting your time. They won't listen to you. But show them, demonstrate to them, model a good behavior. Take your kids to a bookshop. Take your kids to the library and spend time reading with them. The same thing in the school context. Make sure that books are available and make sure that books are something that is related to having fun, to enjoyment, and that you also bring a book every day to the classroom and show the kids, hey, this is the book that I'm reading now. Then let me read to you the first 2 lines of the book. And sure enough, they will ask you, hey, teacher, what book are you reading? Where do you get the book from? I also want to read that book. Gitu. Okay, how about teaching literacy or teaching language, basically, or teaching reading in urban or rural communities? Yosefa, I think Yosefa has a lot of experience because in Yogyakarta, it's a big city, she also works with teachers and parents from the smaller communities, the desa-desa as well. Yosefa, what has been your experience? Is it different or is it?
Of course, it is different, Pak Willy, because book access is not easy for those who are in the isolated place.
Right.
So But I think now during the pandemic, I think it's more like it's easier because we can use like virtual book club, right? For the
Yes.
communities like parents and teachers in the rural area. But before the pandemic, what I used to do is like I brought my own collections and I invited some friends and colleagues, and then we went to the schools or the communities and we read together with the parents and the teachers and also the students. Yeah.
Yes. So read together, read alone. But the key thing is for us to send this message very clearly that reading is good. Reading is happiness. Reading is fun. Reading is enjoyable. If
reading is pleasure.
It's
not
pleasure.
Pressure.
Yes, not pressure, but it's pleasure.
Pleasure.
Yes, pleasure, not pressure.
Pleasure. Yeah, maybe some ideas that adopt by some school, but they already have like a cafe library.
Oh, so I like
they
that,
have,
yes.
Actually, in Alfredos also have a cafe library. So students during their break time, they can eat or drink, and sometimes they can read a magazine or some books. Yeah, even every time and every corner in the school corridor, there are self book, so they can read a book anytime they want. Maybe this is some tips.
Yes, I think that's the way to go. Actually, if you want something that is radical, an idea that is really radical for primary school children in Indonesia, for example, you can reduce the curriculum time by 20% and make this 20% available for the students to read and read and read.
I see.
I think the idea is actually very radical and also very powerful. And you'll be surprised that the kids are able or will be able to learn a lot more if they actually spend time reading the books that they want to read. The idea comes from this group of, very progressive educators, and they call this idea Genius Hour. Genius Hour.
Genius Hour.
Yes. Genius Hour is time that you provide to your students to do whatever they want, whatever they are interested in, with supervision, of course, from the teacher. Now, the thinking is very interesting. The thinking is that every single child is capable, bisa dan mampu untuk belajar mandiri. Yeah. But the tricky thing is not, do whatever you want. If you want to play, go play. If you want to play games, go play games. No, but something that is really that they are really interested in. And then we provide the resources, we provide the facilities, we provide supervision. Namanya Genius Hour. Nanti di Google ya, di YouTube tuh ada banyak informasi mengenai Genius Hour. I think our students need a lot of that time for them to develop their creativity, their their innovative skills, and also their literacy as well in the process.
Yeah, we give them a lot of more for inquiry, Pak ya.
Exactly, that's reading. Inquiry learning.
Yeah. Okay. Next, we will move to another question from the participants.
Yeah.
Okay. Next from Asep Fahrizal. SD Islam Al-Azhar Kairo, Yogyakarta. Oke, untuk memahami sebuah literasi, apakah semua step yang 4 tadi dari code breaker, kemudian meaning maker, text user sampai text kritik bisa diterapkan dari mulai SD atau hanya bagian-bagian tertentu saja yang diterapkan? Jadi mungkin hanya kalau misalkan code breaker tadi hanya untuk di earlier saja seperti itu. Jadi apakah semua 4 step tadi itu bisa diterapkan semuanya dari mulai earliers? And then from Nadia Miftakul Jannah, University Negeri Malang, how can we how can we understand the material rather than memorizing the material? Because if we memorize it, we will forget the material faster. So avoid to memorizing. Maybe how is the tips, Pak? Without memorizing the material.
Ibu Yosefa is going to address the second question. I will address the first one. Let me begin with the first one. This is a very good question. I like this kind of question because the person who asked this question has spent a lot of time thinking and reflecting about the materials that I've just presented to you. Excellent question. So the question is whether all the 4 competencies, whether they should be taught together or separately, maybe some for lower, for younger kids and some for older kids. The answer to that is no. I think they can be taught together in different ways, of course. Like, for example, being critical. Kayaknya being critical itu harus orang dewasa gitu ya. Tidak kok.
Analisa gitu.
Ya harus analisis gitu loh. Dalam sekali analisisnya pakai Bloom taxonomy dan sebagainya, enggak. Very simple things like, okay, after the kids have finished reading a story, cerita sederhana misalnya. One question that you can ask the kid is, what do you think would happen if the story or if the main character was a girl, not a boy? Nanti kan mereka mikir, oh iya ya, ini kan perspective taking namanya ini. Jadi sejak awal sudah kita bisa mengajarkan, anak itu kok pandangannya berbeda dengan pandangan kita gitu. Kenapa ya? Apakah boleh berpandangan berbeda, misalnya begitu? Persepsi berbeda, kan budayanya beda. Orang Jawa dengan orang Sumatera atau dengan orang Maluku kan beda gitu loh. Can you teach that? Yes, you can in very early on in primary school. I think you can teach that. Well, in Maluku, the color of the skin of the people there is darker. Apakah dark itu nggak baik gitu loh? Dark itu kan manis ya. Biasanya anak kecil tuh hitam manis begitu ya. Kan nggak apa-apa hitam manis. Cuman sayangnya nanti kalau udah dewasa manisnya hilang, tinggal hitamnya gitu. That's a joke, yeah. But difference is we can teach from early on, and it's our responsibility as an adult, as a teacher, to instill, to start teaching our kids about respecting differences, gitu. So my answer to that is yes, you can, but you need to fine tune, you need to calibrate. You need to calibrate the bobot of each of the competencies. Bukan terus menganalisis dengan berat begitu, tidak sih. So that is my response. Yeah.
Okay.
The second one.
So we have to adjust, ya Pak.
I think we have to adjust. I think after teaching for 5 years or so, you have had a lot of experience on the kind of literacy activities or literacy tasks that your students can deal with, that your students can work on. So it goes back to you as a professional teacher. Yosefa, do you want to respond to the second one? The second one is memorizing.
Yeah, how to avoid memorizing.
How to avoid memorizing, yeah.
Okay, how to avoid memorizing. So actually, like there are 2 types of learning. So learning to understand and learning to memorize, right? So I think how to avoid memorizing is that we learn through the context and also learn through the concept. So learn through the context means that, for example, when you learn grammar, it is better for you to learn the context. How? Through the reading, through the books, like storybooks, because then the students can learn the grammar instead of memorizing subject plus verb 1 for simple present. Yeah, then they can actually find the patterns of simple present from the story. And also the vocabulary. Yeah, vocabulary, instead of memorizing the vocabulary, you can just have that through the context from the story. So
that's an excellent response, Yosefa. Thank you very much. Yes, I think partly because of the way we teach. Jadi yang disalahin sebetulnya bukan siswanya, kita yang salah sebetulnya. Kita harus ngaku nih. When you teach your students like that, okay, here is the present tense, and the present tense is used for the following reasons, and these are the rules of the present tense, then of course your students will try to remember and memorize those rules. Yeah. But if you do it differently through inquiry-based learning, through discovery learning method, by giving students a lot of reading, a lot of books that are interesting, the students will pay attention to the meaning. Yeah, let me say this again. The students will pay attention to the meaning. They will not try to memorize the words or the grammatical structures there. They will focus on the meaning. And when they do focus on the meaning for a period of time, this is what Yusefa says about learning from context, then incidentally, tanpa sadar, they will remember. They will know the grammar. They may not be able to tell you what the grammar is called, but they will be able to use the grammar. And that is what language learning is all about. So stop teaching your students too many grammar rules. Stop teaching your students too many text or genre rules. I think we have been doing that for many years. I think we should stop doing it.
Yeah.
Teach them
So the
a little.
point is,
teach them a little.
Yeah.
But don't spend one whole day explaining what a recount is, what a joke is, for example. I find it very funny. If you are telling people, hey, a joke must have the following components, the moment you say that, then the joke is not funny anymore. Yeah. If you want your students to be able to tell a joke, a funny joke, give them 100 jokes to look at and to enjoy. And after they finish enjoying the jokes, I think they'll be able to say the joke to you the next day.
Okay, thank you, Pak Willy and Ibu Yusefa. So the point is we have to have like a contextual learning and conceptual learning. Yeah, the point is that, and maybe it's depend also on the learning experience that teacher created for the students, because
Absolutely.
this is the important part, because when we creating a learning experience, automatically the students will be having a meaningful experience, and they won't be memorizing anymore. Yeah, so need a creativity actually, Pak, for teacher to do this. Okay, thank you so much, Pak Willy and Bu Yusefa. And then for the next question, Mbak Emma, please display. Okay, from Hana, University of Nomensen, Pamatang Siantar. Okay, we know that not all students can learn fast. I once faced a student who is a slow learner. I taught her a simple reading comprehension, but I needed to repeat the same sentence to make her remember the point of the text. My question is, how do we engage a slow learner when we teach literacy? Okay, so literacy for the slow learner, or maybe for special education needs, ya Pak, ya, maybe this is. And then from Ibu Murahartawati, Telkom University. Okay, thank you, Mr. Willy, for sharing valuable knowledge today. I have two questions. First, how to develop critical thinking through reading activity for kids or teenagers? And the second one, do you have best practice how to develop consistency for reading activity at home? Okay.
Yes, reading at home is Ibu Yusefa's expertise.
Yeah. Okay, for the first one, Pak.
Okay, first one is about
literation for a slow learner.
Okay, slow. Yes, I think we should pay more attention to our students who are not fast learners. I think when you do that, and when you are successful in helping your weaker students, I think it's a very, very rewarding experience. So the trick is for you to go low. Go low. Work at their level.
Okay.
And the best thing for them to do, or for you to do, is not to teach them explicitly. If their literacy is not wonderful, then what you need to do is two things. Number one, read together with them if you can. I know it's not easy to do. Read together with them. Or if you have access to technology, I think you can show them. You can show them, a video or a YouTube reading materials that are at their level, that are easy, and then help them to read and comprehend the text. But the key thing is you need to find materials at their level. Point number one. Point number two, the materials will have to be very, very interesting. Otherwise, the students will stop reading. So two things. Number one is interesting, and that will make them really excited. And number two, the language will have to be at their level so that they can experience success, so that they can tell you, teacher, thank you so much. I am happy now because I can read and I can understand. Now, this experience, this happy experience, will have to be repeated again and again and again, until eventually the weaker kids can catch up with the rest of the kids in the classroom. Is it easy to do? No, it's not. It takes time. But the results, if you are able to see the results, help the students become better readers, I think that can be a very, very rewarding experience. For weaker kids, do not teach them the rules of reading. Do not teach them sentence by sentence. They don't work. Yeah, or word by word, sentence by sentence, they don't work. Give them something meaningful. Give them language in context, and that is usually a story. What if they can't understand anything in English, for example? Tell them in Bahasa Indonesia first. Yeah, once they understand that in Bahasa Indonesia, show them the English version, side by side. In other words, bilingual reading. Yeah, I think that is part of your job to help your kids. Second question, Yusefa?
Okay. What was the second question?
I
Again,
forgot.
It's almost midnight, but Willy.
Reading habit at home. Habit at home.
Okay. And also like the activities, right?
Yeah, the activities.
Okay. Is it possible for me to share a short slide?
Yes, you can.
Yes, sure.
Make her co-host, please.
I can already.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see
Okay.
it? I'm sorry, this is in Bahasa Indonesia, but basically, like, I think the question is about what is the best way or best activities at home with the children, right? Okay, so like, if your children are still in the early stage, so I think reading with and reading to the children would be better. Okay, so maybe you can show the picture and also the words, and then pointing at the picture and also pointing at the words and also reading aloud. I think that's also interesting. Big picture walks, so only discussing the picture and to make sense of the story from the picture. And also dialoguing. Dialoguing means that when you are reading with the children, you can also stop for a while and then like have conversation. Why is she crying? Why she doesn't want to eat, for example, something like that. But then gradually, when your children are growing up, getting older, then probably dialoguing would be after the reading, and also making prediction, and also making connection, personal connection, visualization, reading, writing connection. For example, this is what I did with my daughter. So making connection means like text to self connection. So I invited my daughter to have conversation with the story, and then she tried to make connection with her personal experience. And that is very, very interesting. And also it can help the children to talk more about their problems. And also text to text connection. Text to text connection means that the activity from one text that your children was reading to another text that they also read from the other day. So this one, my daughter was reading Esperanza Rising. It's like a children's storybook. And then she tried to make connection with like a movie that she watched from Netflix. So she made a connection between the story and also the movie. And this is visualization. So after reading Harry Potter, we kind of, draw a map about Harry Potter and also, like the castle and so on. And this is reading, writing connection because my daughter loves writing more. So I exposed her to reading, writing connection. So after reading a book, and then she normally would write down what happened or what she feels after reading the book, something like that. So I think that's very important. The point is that try to find out what your children love to do. So if they do not like writing, do not force them to write after reading the book. So find out what they love first, and then after that, try to expose more with your children at home. Thank you.
Excellent. Yes, I like that, Josefa. Very good. So activities about reading will have to be developed around the reading itself. And there are hundreds of activities that you can use to engage your students. So tonight, for example, go to Google and type in keywords like 100 ways of engaging your students on reading. And you'll be able to find a lot of examples. Please do not for one moment think about grammar rules. Do not think about text structure, for example, the genre-based teaching, for example. Put that aside for a while. I think those are very important. But if you want literacy, if you want your students, your children to develop literacy, then everything will have to be organized around reading. Reading itself, membaca itu sendiri adalah sumber literasi. So the more you read, your literacy skills will develop. And the more you read, your language skills develop. And the more you read, your world knowledge also develops. So everything about the language, everything about, language skills, about knowledge is there in the book. And your job as a teacher is to, I like the word spirit that one of you asked early on, the spirit, the motivation. If you are able to ignite the spirit or the motivation of the students or your children, I think there will be a very happy kids, and they'll be very, very successful in acquiring a high level of literacy. Membaca setiap hari, setiap jam, setiap malam, setiap siang, waktu naik bus, waktu di angkot, ya, sebelum tidur, bangun pagi. Every time is reading.
Yeah, okay.
Gitu.
Thank you, Pak Willy, Ibu Josefa. And this is the last questions. The last question, actually, we will read briefly about the last questions before we ended our sessions today.
Yes, the last question is for Bu Ana. Where is Bu Ana?
Okay. Okay, actually there are 4 questions, Pak, but I will read briefly about the question. The first one is from Ibu Fatima, MYP Al Firdaus. Which one is more effective, reading a book or reading information in internet? And how to make focus reading information in internet without change to social media? Because information internet sometimes is more interesting and quickly accessed. Okay, so which one is more effective, yeah, between reading a book or in internet? And then the second one from Ina Nurnina, what will be a very possible strategy to develop to increase student literacy for those who live in isolated area, maybe like a rural area previously? Does the ICT infrastructure will resolve this matter? So this is regarding the rural area, literacy in the rural area. And then next. Okay.
Kayaknya udah banyak tuh.
Iya. Okay.
What is
this
the
is
first one
about
again?
the student. The first one is about which one is more effective, Pak, between reading a book or from the article from the internet.
Okay. Quick answer. Reading for entertainment doesn't matter whether you read from the internet or whether you read from a book. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Reading for entertainment, yeah. Santai, recreational reading. There's no difference, actually. It depends on your preference. As long as you actually read and stay reading for a while, it's okay. But up to now, what we know from research is that if you want your kids to read something, serious, yang belajar misalnya, belajar apalah begitu ya, social studies atau sejarah atau apa, it's better to read from a printed book.
Okay.
Because if you read from the internet, there's a lot of distractions, basically.
Yep.
There's a lot of, you have to pay attention to many things at the same time. And that is bad. You can't focus. You can't focus your attention on the important contents of the materials. If it is entertainment, like baca novel misalnya, not a big deal. You can read a book, or you can read from the internet, or you can read from your gadget. it doesn't matter because
Okay,
it's for pleasure. Yeah.
So it's depend on the purpose ya Pak ya?
It depends on the purpose. Yeah. Okay. But kalau
Okay.
di desa atau di remote area, I think access to books. Yeah. Access to books. I think that's probably the first thing that you need to do. Make sure that books are available. I don't think we can say now that, okay, in my area, books are nowhere to be found. Fine, but if the teacher has access to the internet, if the teacher has access to the internet, I think you can print out some of the books or some stories from the internet and then make it available to your students. So access is actually not a big problem nowadays. If you ask me, what is more important is what you do with the books after you have downloaded, after you have made the books available or the storybooks available to your kids. What do you do then? I think that's very important. Again, it goes back to the teacher. The teacher is the number one most important person in literacy teaching, in social studies teaching, in whatever. The teacher. Sumbernya adalah dari the teacher. If you are able to motivate your students, if you are able to model a good reading behavior, I think your kids will also do the same. Di mana sama kok di Indonesia juga begitu, di Amerika juga begitu, di Singapura juga begitu. The teacher is the most important. Makanya gaji guru itu gede banget gitu loh.
Iya Pak, thank you.
Di Indonesia, bukan di tempat lain, bukan di Indonesia.
Okay, thank you so much, Pak Willy and Ibu Yosefa. And then before we, so this is the last question, and then before we close our session, Miss Emma will introduce about the international conference Islamic educator in March. So the time is Miss Emma, and thank you Pak Willy for sharing valuable information, valuable knowledge and best practice to all of us regarding the literacy, and hopefully we can all implement what you explained today, and will increase and enhance our understanding in literacy nowadays. Okay, thank you also Ibu Yosefa and for your sharing for today. And before we ended this session, Miss Emma will introduce about the international conference first, and after that we will have a photo session maybe for our documentation. Okay, the times turn to Miss Emma.
Ya, Bu Emma.
Dear all participants, thank you for joining our webinar today. Very honored to have you all participating in our event. So today's webinar is a part of our journey to organize the online third international conference on Islamic education 2021. Inshallah, it will be held on March 18, 2021. And this is the collaboration between Ittishal and the International Islamic College University, Selangor, Malaysia. The conference theme is Teaching and Learning Model in 4.0 Era, Best Practice of Teaching and Learning Process Facing 4.0 Era in 5 continents. And here are the sub-themes for the parallel sessions. We will have the honorable speakers coming from 5 continents all over Indonesia to share about the best practice of education facing the challenge of our 4.0 era. We are very welcome to invite you to send your articles or participating in the third ICIE 2021 And these are the reputable journals who will be our partners to publish selected papers. For the paper participants, please submit your abstracts before February 22nd. Register yourself now on www.ittishal.net/ICIE 2021 or the link displayed. For any inquiries and further information, please contact us on email. Thank you and see you in the third ICIE 2021.
Okay, thank you, Miss Emma, for introducing our event on March. Yeah. After this, we will have a photo session. I hope everybody can open your turn on your camera, please. Okay. Okay, I will count. Okay, Mrs. Agnes Novitasari, can you turn on your camera, please? Okay, 1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay, next page. Okay, thank you, Pak Willy. Okay, anybody please open your camera. Okay, 1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay, once more. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay, thank you everyone. We appreciate you being here. Thank you, Mr. Willy. Thank you, Ibu Yosefa, for this great session. And we are so sorry regarding the technical problem that we have today. And thanks again for joining us today. And we will see you in the third ICIE 2021. Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Pak Willy, Bu Yosefa. See you next time.
Yosefa, go to sleep. It's
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bu Yosefa.
Pak Willy, thank you. Thank you, Ibu. Bye.
Thank you.
Ternyata Ibu Eva juga
Bye.
di jamaah.
Very nice. Thank you, Mr. Willy.
Pak jenenge Wahyu itu tuh Esos.